Good morning.
Good morning.
We have a fun topic today. Aren't you excited?
Yeah.
Death. Dun, dun, dun. Actually, this time of year, it's really interesting. There happens to be a lot of people who transition, a lot of people who leave the planet during the holidays. And for those of us who may be around after somebody's transition, usually the holidays are the hardest time of year. And that's a time when we miss our family the most. And so I know that this time of year is filled with joy and happiness, but then there's also that contrast of sadness and grief. And I know what I know about grief is that it doesn't just go away. Like, we like it to go away, but it doesn't really go away. And it kind of ebbs and flows. And sometimes the more intense times are during the holidays because we miss the physicalness of our family the most. But it's really interesting that a lot of us are spending our days living to die instead of trying to live, right? And a lot of people get lost in life, forgetting the importance and the beauty of it and thinking that, it's not worth living for. But at the same time, there's so much richness and beauty and love that this life is all about. I hope you don't mind. Can I share a little bit about what you said? I was talking to Sean a little bit before this service, and she was in Paris when they had the bombings in Paris, and Belgium when they had the attacks in Belgium. And just the shakiness of that kind of experience really rocks somebody to their core. And it's the same thing that happens when we lose a parent or a friend or a family member. There's kind of a shaking to the core that happens. But one thing that's really beautiful is sometimes it's an awakening. Sometimes it's a realization. It gets us back to ourselves in a way that we might have forgotten about ourselves. It reconnects us with the fact that we really are immortal. In 2006, something amazing happened. I don't know if you've heard of Anita Moorjani. But in February 2nd, in 2006, she had stage 4B lymphoma cancer. Basically, she not only couldn't walk, but her body couldn't absorb any nutrients from food. All of her organs stopped working. And then in the hospital, she went into a coma. And so in the intensive care unit, all the doctors didn't expect her to live through the night. Everything was shutting down. In the middle of the night, she had a near-death experience where she transcended her body. And she woke up the next day. 5 weeks after entering the hospital, she walked out on her own with not a sign of cancer. Not a single sign. All of her organs had shut down. Her body had been ravaged with cancer. And 5 weeks later, she walks out. Since walking out of the hospital, she spent her life living because she realized that she's not afraid to die anymore. And so many people aren't doing things because they're afraid to die, instead of actually embracing life and living for the purpose of living. She said, "There I was, without my body or any of my physical traits, yet my pure essence continued to exist. And it was not a reduced element of my whole self. In fact, it felt far greater, more intense, and more expansive than my physical being alone. It was magnificent, in fact. I felt eternal, as if I'd always existed and always would, without beginning or end. I was filled with the knowledge that I was simply magnificent." She says this, and this is the key. "I became aware that we're all connected. This was not only every person and living creature, but the interwoven unification as though it were expanding outward to include everything in the universe. Every human, every animal, plant, insect, mountain, sea, inane object, and the cosmos. I realized that the entire universe is alive. And it's infused with consciousness, encompassing all of life and nature. Everything belongs to an infinite whole. I was intricately, inseparably enmeshed with all of life. We're all facets of that unity. We're all facets of the one, and each of us has an effect on the consciousness and the collective of the whole. And I find it really interesting. Anita had to die in order to realize that, but we teach this every Sunday, so you don't have to die in order to realize that. We can actually come to the realization on our own that there's something bigger that's happening in and through each and every one of us, and something pretty spectacular. But sometimes we need to be reminded of it because we forget. Sometimes we're so invested in the things or the doingness of the holidays that we forget what it's all about. I'm reading this book. Actually, I finished this book. It was called Replay by Ken Grimwood. Replay. And in the book, the main character has a heart attack. So it's 1988. He's in this terrible marriage. He's unhappy with his wife, and she's unhappy with him. And he has a heart attack. And he wakes up, and he's in college again. Not only in college again, but he's in college from the exact same point. Like, it's his life again. He has an opportunity to be alive again, starting from his college years. So what does he do? He takes all his money and he puts a bet on the Kentucky Derby. Wouldn't you do that? He's like, I want to be rich. And then he starts betting, and then he starts getting richer and richer. And so he goes off, he gets his college buddy, and he starts betting on all of these games that he knows because he's lived this life already, right? Might as well take advantage of it. So he knows all the things that are coming up in his life. He doesn't end up being with his wife anymore because he went off and went on another path. And he ends up forming this big company called Future Inc., where he's doing investment strategy, of course, because he knows what's going to happen, right? And he becomes a multi-millionaire. And then in 1988, he dies again. And then he wakes back up in college. And then he decides to go on a different path. Well, why not become a swinger, do all kinds of drugs, travel the world, bet again on all these different things so he can have plenty of money to do whatever he wants. And then in 1988, he dies again. And then he thinks, well, maybe I should try and make it with my high school girlfriend. So he becomes a respectable man. He gets a law degree. And he starts being the perfect husband, and they have children, and they start growing up. And then in 1988, he dies again. And he wakes up again, and it's like his children have died. Even though he's the one who died, he lost his children. He doesn't want to suffer through that again. This time he's going to do it right. He's going to adopt children so he doesn't have to worry about it. And then he dies again. And he misses his adopted children. And so he does this over and over and over again. And you start thinking, or at least I started thinking, well, what's the point? What's the point? Well, the point is about love. And it's about cherishing every moment. And it's about having the courage to live our lives fully and freely. Being courageous enough to do the things that we always wanted to do. To step into our greatness without fear. What is the fear? The fear is usually, what if I don't succeed? What if I can't? What if I'm going to die? Isn't it better to live fully than to live scared? So it was really interesting. I love this book because it really got me thinking about what is the purpose? And it didn't end up being about the money. Are you surprised? No. And we talked about this in Foundations class actually recently. A lot of people, well, I need the money to do the thing that I want to do, right? I need the money to do this. I need the job to give me the money so I can actually live my life. I need the money for. And so what is the thing that you need the money for? And then what is that thing going to give you? Well, maybe you want to go first after what that thing is going to give you, and then the money will follow. Maybe you want to go for happiness first, because I know a lot of rich people who are really rich and still unhappy. It's not the money that brings the happiness. It's something much deeper than that. It's something much more deep and connected that we have with each other. So I wanted to tell you our weekly theme is from Ernest Holmes. It says, "We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding." So what if you really are here to just be here? What if you're really here to feel that interconnectedness and that part of the vibrancy of all life? The one thing that I love in the book, Replay, at the very end, and I'll ruin it for you if you aren't going to read it, but at the very end, he dies. And then he wakes up and he hadn't really died. And he had the opportunity to live his life and enjoy every moment to the fullest. And he had the opportunity to realize what was really important for him. It was deepened connections. It was love. It was community. And the spontaneity of life is what made it so interesting. After reliving his own life so many times, he was kind of done. He wanted something new. Now we have the opportunity right here and now. We have every moment is a new moment. Every opportunity is a new opportunity. Every day is a new day. Every second is kind of like a death and a rebirth. Llewellyn Vaughan-Lee, who wrote Awakening the World, it's a beautiful book. It's a really, really beautiful book. Said that transformation is both a death and a birth. And the real wholeness of a human being, we realize how many parts of ourselves come together. Life and death are part of each other and part of the continual flow of creation. Each moment we die, and each moment we are born. So even though we may leave our physical bodies, we die the physical death, but we're born in some other aspect. There is no actual death. There's only the physical leaving of our bodies. Everything has its cycle and its season. This time of the year where we have this end cycle, the harvest time, right? Thanksgiving time. This is the time of year where in the beginning of the year, it's like the new birth, right? Every year it's born anew. Springtime in the pagan religions and earth-based religions, they talk about the vibrancy and the bunny rabbits and everything being born and multiplying, and right? That's the springtime. It's kind of like the fresh sprout. And then the summertime is the fullness of life. And then the fall is whenever things start going slower and we start taking in all the rich fruits and the harvest of the season. And then after that, we enter into the dark period. But each one of us has these cycles in our life. It's not just the seasons that are cycles, it's our life has these cycles to them. And we may have gone through a time where it's a dark period, but that dark period is necessary in order to get into the rebirth cycle, in order to be reborn in ourselves. That's why all the Christians put Christ's birth on that same time of year, because actually Jesus was born, I think in the springtime or something like that. But he wasn't born in December. We're pretty sure about this. But the reason why Christianity put this birth of their leader, of the prophet of Christianity, was at this time of year when people are recognizing that we are going into the dark period and we're being reborn. And this is the season that we're entering into right now. As we have had this Thanksgiving time, this is the harvest time where we talk about the fruits of our life, the fruits of what we have for each other and how we are with each other. And then entering into a period of darkness, which is introspection. And it's okay to be in that time of darkness. It's okay to hole up and to just be centered in that space, because that's part of the process. And so if you're in this period of mourning, or you're in the holidays and you're noticing that you're having challenges and difficulties, be kind to yourself. It's all about that love, and it's about the cycle of life. Ernest Holmes gave a great talk about Thanksgiving. And he said, Thanksgiving is more than just a day to serve turkey and dressing and eat brown gravy on mashed potatoes. It really means that we should be grateful for life, that we should praise the giver of all good, and that we should gratefully acknowledge the priceless heritage of a free and noble people. He says, if you think about children and puppies, they love praise, right? Children and puppies love praise. Now, a child, you praise a child and there's like a beaming excitedness, like, oh, I love it, I'm so happy. You see me for who I am, right? And then the same thing happens, like a puppy or dog, just like their eyes are excited, their tail wags, and they get all excited and happy and praising the dog. They know intrinsically, especially the animals, they know intrinsically that there is this joy, a joyful givingness that comes through, right? And it's not something that actually needs to be in words, but it's an intentionality behind it. And so Ernest Holmes encourages us on Thanksgiving to be in the space of praise, to be in the space of praise. Because as we praise, we uplift each other in that praise. There was an experiment done where some people they had two different rose bushes. And one rose bush, they praised it all the time. The other one, they just treated it normally. And they noticed that the rose bush that was praised all the time, it was much bigger, it had more flowers, more blooms, it was more radiant. Now imagine if we started treating each other that way. Imagine if we just started stepping out and praising each other. We could cause each other to blossom and grow and bloom. We could cause each person who's in our lives to open up to greater possibility for who they are. But I wonder, how much time do we spend affirming the good things in life and recognizing that which is best in ourselves and others? I mean, Thanksgiving is really the time for gratitude, and again, appreciating the harvest and the bounty of what we have. I was talking with Gina last night about this talk, and we were reflecting on how beautiful and how lucky we are. I mean, I was sitting there washing my clothes, right? And Gina's like, the clothes washer. Like, how amazing is the clothes washer? How amazing is the clothes washer? Back in the day, you had to have all your clothes, and you had that little wavy, metally thing, and screw in the little thing, take you all day long to wash your clothes. And so you wore them over and over and over again until they got real stinky, because you didn't really want to wash them and take all day or all week to wash them, right? So how lucky are we? Electricity. The universe is teeming with consciousness. Everywhere, it's around us. It is in and through all things. The universe was destined to create itself through each and every one of us. And so we are here showing up in life to be a participant in its creation, creating of ourselves anew in it. So each and every one of us has the opportunity to be that person of creation, to be the person of praise, to be the person of grace, to be the person of courage. Are you willing to step into that place today? Are you willing to be a person of praise? Are you willing to be a person of courage? Are you willing to live life in a way that affects people in a positive way? And are you willing to step into your own light in a way that you've always wanted to? Yeah. I am. I think that that's really what this life is all about. I think that each and every one of us can stop thinking about dying or quitting or just getting by with living. We can learn to enjoy and appreciate the wholeness of the eternal here and now, because we are eternal. And if we're eternal, if we're just going to leave this body and maybe come back into one or maybe go into another phase, why not enjoy what we've got here and now? Why not be present to the gifts and the beauty of this present moment? That's why they call it the present, It's present to you and me. So I know that as each and every one of us reflect upon this, that we are having an opportunity this week and for the rest of this holiday season to reflect upon, who am I in this world? Who do I really want to be? And what's most important to me? What's most important to me? Because while this physical life may be fleeting, it's filled with juiciness and richness and beauty and love. How can I make that beauty and love expand in my life? And I know one thing you can do is by praising it, because whatever we put our focus on expands. So I encourage you to be a person of praise this week, to try it out, to see what happens. You want to try that experiment with me?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. I love you. 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 And God bless you. And so it is. Let's pray. So knowing right here and right now that this is the space of infinite opportunities, that the entire universe is open to me to be participating and co-creating with. I know that God is here in this space, that the entire universe sizzles with this amazing exuberance of life. And so as I step into that exuberance, I recognize and know that this divine flow happens in and through me, in and through each and every person here. That as I praise and raise each and every person around me, that I am realizing that the entire universe is being praised and raised, that I am a conscious co-creator with the divine, and that as I step into the courageousness of living my life, being freely, fully me, that I am absolutely supported in that life. I'm so grateful to know that as I recognize that, I honor myself in whatever phase I'm in. Whatever place I'm at, I recognize that I am on the Most High. I am of the Most High. That each and every person who's born in this world is born up of this star stuff, the God stuff. And that as each and every person is, that means me too. Me too. And so I choose to treat myself with praise. I choose to treat myself as I raise myself. And I reflect that outward to each and every person I come in contact with. I'm so grateful to know that this impacts my life, that God is here, opening me up to a greater sense of awareness, more ahas, revelations, insights. I declare that this is happening to me and through me right here and now. As I declare this for myself, I know this whole community is of a united consciousness. There is something here that has happened that is deep and profound and loving. And I love and welcome it. I know it expands exponentially in my life. It is so good. And so as I sit into that recognition, I allow the idea that I'm not enough to die. The idea I'm not enough to die. And what is reborn in me is that I am enough. I am part of this collective consciousness. I am part of this magnificent expression in life. I am somebody of value, of worth. As I know this for myself, I know this for each and every person here, that we are awakened to our worth, to our value. As we praise each and every person, we see it and feel it and know it within. I'm so grateful to know that this is the truth. I release this prayer, I release this word, and knowing it's already done as it grows in that deep, dark soil of beauty, of love, of creation, knowing it grows in and through each and every one of us, to be rebirthed anew and anew and anew in more joyful, more magnificent ways than I could ever imagine. And for that, I am really grateful. And so it is.